I asked a simple question to the audience and I said, who here has not yet shared their money goals, their financial goals with their partner? Several people typed in the chat that they don't even have money goals.
What happens if you want to have an experience and it's going to cost you something? How do you figure out the way in which you go about doing that? And which partner is good at money is what will help to kind of plot your way there. Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Thank you again for being with us on this amazing relationship journey. We are on episode number 85. Which partner is better with shmoney? With shmoney. Which partner is better with money? Before we jump into this episode, thank you, as always, to Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this show and 49 others. We just surpassed 50 clients. Wow. A lot of good in the world being done by NLPS. So thank you, NLPS. We appreciate you. If anyone out there wants to start, grow, or monetize your podcast, we've got your back over at Next Level Podcast Solutions. This episode also brought to you by, I'm kidding. All right, sweetheart. So as I knew you were going to laugh, love. As always, sweetheart, ladies first, what is your intention for this episode?
My intention for this episode is to help our listeners get on the same page with money by listening to this episode.
Excellent.
By contemplating the questions that we have here for them.
So we do relationship talks, virtual events every single month. As you know, if you tune in to the end of every one of these episodes, we do talk about that. Last night we had one about how to get on the same page about money. We are in good spirits today. We're laughy. So full disclosure, elephant in the room. We're going to giggle a lot in this episode. I can tell. It's going to be good. Emilia said I had very dreamy blue eyes before this episode. That's when I knew she was in a giggly state. This is going to be fun for me. But anyways, so as to the value of this episode, we did an event on how to get on the same page about money, because when you Google it, you can tell that, or you can research that money and finances are the third reason, I believe, for divorce. And I went through my money story in terms of my childhood and my mom and my stepdad and how they had money challenges. You talked about yours a bit. And then more importantly, we wanted to shout out our clients, Brandon and Hannah. They were the warriors of the event. Now, a warrior of an event, for those new listeners, are someone who's leading by example, someone who's leading the charge, so to speak. So Brandon and Hannah have gotten on the same page about money, and they're working towards their goals and dreams of having a wedding and buying a home together. And they are an absolute shining example of two people who were not on the same page, who then got on the same page and started to rock and roll towards their dreams together. So the purpose of this episode, though, is at the end of the event, I asked a simple question to the audience, and I said, who here has not yet shared their money goals, their financial goals with their partner? And I, was raising my hand, even though I have. Because I do that when I'm speaking. It's to indicate that other people should raise their hand if they want to engage. And several people typed in the chat that they don't even have money goals. And Emilia and I had that very humbling moment of, holy crap, we just spent an hour talking about how to get on the same page about money. But what we now realize is that a lot of this audience doesn't know how to set money goals, period, even individually, never mind together.
Right.
And so we wanted to really rectify that on this podcast, because this podcast is supposed to run in tandem to those relationship talks events, kind of righty lefty type of thing. And we wanted to help you today, listener, learn how to set very simple money goals so that you can get on track and stay on track towards your own better financial future.
Yeah. And what I just wrote down on my remarkable was, you know, after the event, Alan and I always do our debrief. And it was a very humbling moment because the first step to get on the same page with your partner around your money goals or with money in any capacity, there's always an unconscious goal that is at hand, which is why there's a riff, why you aren't on the same page. And so step number one was have a vulnerable conversation around what your goal was, and then be able to work through any insecurities that might impact your ability to reach that money goal.
So for example, Hannah had a goal to pay for their own wedding, and her insecurity was, are we going to have enough after we buy a house? Are we going to have enough for our wedding?
Right.
Just to give a tangible example.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
exactly. So it was really interesting because one of the things that came up afterwards was, and we actually said this when the chat and when all of the questions were coming up around that, of the fact that like a lot of us fail to set goals if we're so like collaborative in nature. And that's one of the things that I said to kind of answer that was, well, where do you start when it comes to money goals? Well, first you have to kind of like think about yourself and what you would want on your own accord, independent of your partner or independent of anyone else. What are your goals that are strictly for you around this money topic? And where that kind of comes into, I gave the tangible example, like let's say, for example, you struggle with that. What's a great way to get started around figuring out what your money goal is, and thus trying to figure out a plan? We called it a money map, to be able to actually work towards that. So say, for example, you want to get your nails done, you want to do some self-care, and you want to have some sort of budget for that once a month. I said, connect your money goals to an experience. Maybe you aren't really someone who automatically thinks of things in terms of numbers. That's okay. You probably will likely think about things in terms of experience. And so an experience like getting your nails done or doing some sort of self-care once a month, you can think about that. Okay, then what's the dollar signs that happen and will be taken out of your bank account after you go get your nails done? And I said to the audience, what is that dollar figure that you need to have in your bank account afterwards to where you don't feel guilty in doing that for yourself? So that kind of connects what we're talking about to the experience. So to what Alan's going to go into, this is the question where, what happens if you want to have an experience and it's going to cost you something? How do you figure out the way in which you go about doing that? And which partner is good at money is what will help to kind of plot your way there.
So right now, anyone out there watching or listening to this, think about, are you the partner who has money goals and higher money acumen, money skills? Or are you the partner who is the one who's kind of the co-pilot, not the pilot? So is it you or is it your intimate partner who is ahead on this front? Okay, that's the first step. If you are the one who's the co-pilot and you are the one who has lower skills in the money arena, it's time for humility, courage, and vulnerability, and to go and talk to your partner about how they handle their finances. How do they handle their money? How do they handle their money goals? If you are the partner who is leading the charge, and you are certain of that, and your intuition says, yeah, that's definitely me, okay, well then now it's time to lead by example even better. So the way that you set a money goal, for those of you who don't have one, the simplest possible way, there's a lot of different ways, but this is the simplest possible way that I could think of, and I do this a lot in my coaching. Look at what's in your bank account right now. Okay, let's just say hypothetically you have $1,500 in your savings account right now, your bank account. Checking account, I think, is probably a better example. Checking account. Let's say you want to go on a trip before the end of 2023. So in Q4, you want to go, maybe it's October, November. Maybe in November, you want to go on a trip to somewhere nice. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that trip is going to cost you probably about $3,000. Flights, Airbnb, food, expenses. Okay. What you would try to do in this case is you would try to make $6,000 so that you can guilt-free spend the $3,000 and save an additional $3,000. So right now it's the end of September. Your goal would be to make at least $6,000 more dollars into your, so if your bank account has $1,500, add 6 to $1,500, you're at $7,500. So you'd want your bank account to say $7,500. When you hit that goal, it's time to celebrate and go on a trip, book the trip. And I think that ties the experience that you want with the goal that you need.
Right.
And I think that's exactly what we're talking about. And then once you get in the habit of that, that's when you start bringing your partner into those things and say, listen, what kind of trip do you want to go on? Or what do you value? My business partner, Kevin, he wanted a new car. He had a specific BMW he really wanted. And I said, okay, I broke down the math. I said, you would need to get at least 10 clients for that to be an affordable monthly payment. And that way, it's actually more money than what the car costs too. So, and he went off to the races. He crushed it, did more sales calls, more podcasts, more podcasts that we produce now. And then he went and got that experience that he wanted. He drove the car right off the lot. And I think that for those of you out there who don't set money goals, you might not be numbers oriented. You're probably, to Emilia's point, experience oriented. And it's going to be really important for you to tie the experiences you want to a number that's measurable that you can actually achieve.
Right. So this is where your partner, who maybe might be better at money, that's where you get all excited, because you get to get all the cheat codes, right? And you get to be able to kind of do that and apply it to your life.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to jump on here and talk about the Conscious Couple podcast that I've been listening to for a while now. And I absolutely love, whether you're single, in a relationship, or not, this is the podcast for you. I mean, think about it. If you're not in a relationship, look at it like building a house. If you were going to build a house, wouldn't you get the instructions, figure it out, look it over, start practicing some of the little things so that once you start doing it, it's going to be the best house that you ever built? Or if you're in the house already and there's issues that are going on with it, aren't you going to try and fix them? Or think about it while you're building the house and the base layer, there's some issues there. Don't you want to correct those and fix them before you work on the rest of it? Have a great day, guys. Awesome podcast.
So one of the things that I will acknowledge in that is that some of our listeners might not necessarily know exactly what are the things that they need to do and break down the math in order to have it be simple for them, just the way in which you broke it down in its simplest form. Everyone has a unique situation. That's okay. That's where Brandon and Hannah, I really want to give them a shout out, because it might have been simple to us, but in your unique situation, you might have your head spinning in 1,000 different directions, things that are going on. You're trying to navigate and juggle everything that's happening in life. That's where the humility to kind of turn to someone like us, who we've done this before, we'll do it again, and we're helping so many other people do it. It can really streamline that simplicity. Brandon and Hannah walked away with 3 action steps after the call that we went through with them around what are the 3 things that they need to do in order to feel guilt-free in the timeline that they had for their wedding, for their house buying nature, like all of that. And that, I think, is actually really huge, because they had a lot of humility to say, honestly, like, we are at this level in terms of our financial literacy and our money awareness, and we want to learn from you guys. You guys are crushing it at the age that you guys are. We don't see a lot of people like that. And as a result, what are some of the cheat codes that you guys can share with us in our unique situation that could really help streamline and accelerate the rate that we're going at right now? And that made it super, super simple for them. So if you're out there and if you're someone who is like, well, honestly, I feel like my head's on a spin, I can't kind of have things settle, it's not that simple for me, and I need help. And maybe it's, one partner is really a lot much better at money. Maybe you can get the cheat codes from them, or maybe it's going to be a lot easier to have someone like Alan and I sit down and just go through it high level.
We'll help you break it down. So Hannah and Brandon, we'll give a shout out to them again. They are going to be having a wedding. We broke out how much that wedding is probably going to cost. We broke out the home that they want and the amount the home will cost. And what we determined is that in order for them to have their wedding in 15 months and their home in 15 months after that, so in the next 30 months, they'll have both a wedding and a home. And all we figured out is each of them needs to save $700 per month. And that's, again, a lot of money for a lot of people. I realize that.
Yeah.
But let's say you want to get married and buy a really beautiful home in the next 4 years. You can break it out step by step. And I'm telling you, it's not as much per month as you think.
Definitely not.
You just got to break down the numbers. And so that's what I'm really, really good at. And if you want help, reach out to Emilia and myself, and she's going to talk about this a little more, but we do a half an hour free relationship talks coaching session, RTC. I'm actually the one who's going to be talking about this. Yeah, I just realized. So I'm going to talk about that now.
Yeah.
Relationship talks coaching, the reason it's like couples counseling. We're going to help you fall more in love. We're going to help you deal with your challenges. We're going to help you uncover the things that aren't working. But more importantly, we're going to help you set and get your goals.
It's better.
It's better. It is. We do believe that. But it's like couples counseling, but with aspiration and goals. Don't just come to us when you're in trouble. Come to us when you want to build together, grow together.
Yeah.
Live together, dance together,
Sing together.
Sing
so
together.
Like Brandon and Hannah, they were experience oriented. They wanted that experience of buying a house, moving from an apartment to a house, saving money, building a life together, and getting married. That's an experience. So for all of our listeners, I want all of you guys thinking about, guys, gals, all y'all, thinking about what's the experience that you want. Maybe it's a dream that you've always had. We know there's going to be dollar signs underneath that. You can't get around that. You can't get over it. Can't get through it. You gotta get through it. You gotta get through it.
You gotta grow through it.
So with that being said, let us help you reverse engineer that and let us help give you the cheat codes. So relationship talks coaching is a great safe space for that. And just like that, we get deeper into some of these topics that we talk about, which is where our free live virtual events come in, where I was talking to someone on the phone the other day of like, one of the things that's super special about the We, and I believe the Conscious Couples podcast and everything that we do here is we make sure that there's free resources for our community to be more aware and to help them take more action in areas of their lives that they're struggling with. And that's where these events come in too. So in the show notes, you're also going to see a link to our next event, which is going to be October 19th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you can log in. The registration is in the show notes, and you can log in, you can get around other growth-minded human beings who believe that love should be protected. And this event topic is going to be about creating a deeper emotional connection with your partner. We see partners all the time, and we see them struggling, and ultimately comes down to it could be a lot of different things, but there's always a benefit to deepening your emotional connection with your partner. You guys are both growing, you're both evolving, you're always going to see new tides come in and come out of your growth journey. And to deepen your emotional connection along the way is going to be so important for you as you grow together instead of apart. So we hope to see you there. You don't have to join in from using your camera or your mic. You can literally just listen in from the car or wherever. We would love to have you there if that's something that you would enjoy.
Sweetheart, before we go, what's your one main takeaway from today's episode for our listeners?
I would say, honestly, if you're experience driven, admit that, because the world, I swear, opens up to you after you do that. So for example, Brandon and Hannah, they admitted they're more they think of the world more through the lens of experience. So I want to buy a house. I want to get married, like those milestones. If you're experience oriented and you see the world through that, the world opens up because of the fact that you can recognize, okay, maybe I might not be better at money than my partner. That's where I need help. And I think that type of self-awareness can actually put you in the fast lane to some of the accomplishments of your dreams. So that's the final takeaway that I would have for our listeners. If you're experience driven, admitting that and then letting the world open up for you and receiving that help to help you get better with money. And that's that.
My main takeaway would be what you just said. To piggyback on that is take the experience that you want. A very specific experience that you want, a specific car, a specific trip, a specific home, a specific whatever experience. Try to reverse engineer the numbers underneath that. And what I mean by that is, how much is that going to cost? Mm-hmm. And then where's my bank account at now? And how much do I need to save in order to do that experience guilt-free?
So important.
So important. And if you aren't good with numbers, reach out. I would love to help you, because I didn't realize, quite frankly, I've always been a math guy. I've been obsessed with mathematics since I was a little boy. Mm-hmm. And I did not realize how much of a huge advantage that is. I've never felt like it's really challenging for me to reverse engineer any outcomes that I want. And as arrogant as that might sound, let me help you do the same. I'm telling you, living a life of certainty that you're going to get your dreams is just a better life. So,
believe it or not, math can be fun when it's about your dreams.
Emilia has a math problem on the whiteboard downstairs for me that I'm excited for. So thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you so, so much. Thank you again to the 10 people who attended last night's event. We appreciate you for facing all the scaries and running into all the scaries and doing all the things.
Right.
And quite frankly, this episode was built off of your ability to say, you know what, I don't know how to set a money goal.
Yeah.
Thank you for your humility and courage and vulnerability in that.
Seriously.
As always, my love, it's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is Lazaros88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.